Welcome to this Academic Department Inset presentation entitled Are You SEND Friendly? Are you Special Educational Needs and Disabilities Friendly? SEND provision is all our responsibility. We need consistent approaches. These will improve grades of pupils, improve their engagement levels, improve their self-esteem and also their behaviour. Meeting the needs of SEND pupils and ensuring progress is made makes us outstanding teachers, and it is certainly something that future inspections will focus on in terms of the value that you add to that pupil with specific learning difficulties. This presentation will challenge you. Are you ready? Then let's begin. Have you recently logged on to the SEND list? And have you seen all the boys that you're teaching? Have you looked at their progress records? Have you accessed the teacher support page on the SEND list? Have you seen that there are resources for inclusive learning on Firefly? Please, when you're looking through this individually, click through this link here and you will see a lot of resources that are already there and ready and waiting for you to use. Do you use writing frames? Do you use scaffolds to help pupils build their ideas? Lots of pupils with specific learning difficulties report to me that they find it very hard to get their ideas down onto paper. Using these will help them. If you click on the here, you'll find a direct link to writing frames and scaffolds on Firefly. Do you know who your Department Learning Support Link teacher is? Hopefully you do. Hopefully they are feeding back to you after every Learning Support Link meeting. Do you know who looks after the second year pupils? Did you know it was Hayley? Did you know that I look after Year 5, Year 4 and Year 3? Do you know when Prep Club is? Do you know that it's Tuesday and Thursday from 4:30 in the library? Do you know that it's run by Learning Support Sixth Form mentors? Do you know when the drop-in clinic is for learning support? Would you know where to send a pupil to have an initial discussion with us? Did you know that it's 11:05 on Tuesday mornings, Wednesday mornings, Thursday mornings and Friday mornings? Do you know where learning support is? I hope the answer to that question is absolutely. Do you know the behaviour path? Do you know about antecedents, behaviour, communication, consequences? Further information being available at that link. Have you ever experienced this behaviour cycle, this behaviour path, where maybe the antecedent was poorly planned, a poorly planned lesson with little differentiation? Can you anticipate what the behaviours might be in a class of a pupil with a specific learning difficulty? What might his communication message be? And what will be the consequences for that pupil as a direct consequence of our lack of differentiation? In your classroom, do you have keywords and vocabulary placed strategically around the room to support the current topics? Do you have clear objectives stated at the start of your lessons? Is the big picture given? It certainly helps pupils on the autistic spectrum, but it also benefits all pupils to know what is going to happen in your lesson. Do you make links to previous learning? Do you ensure that priority points and or new key vocabulary are given, explained and recorded clearly? Do you use bullet points? Do you use wall displays? If you're writing notes on the board, do you use a different colour for each line, which makes it easier for boys to track when they're writing and noting? Do you have a multi-sensory approach for your learning points throughout the session? Do you know the latest research on how pupils learn? Do you know that pupils need to have mastery of the meaning, the terms and the definition? That they need to have accessible content and have a higher level of engagement? And that there needs to be a variety of multi-sensory activities in place? If this happens, current research says that that's how pupils learn. That for me is just very outstanding practice. Can you ensure that there's a minimum requirement for your SEND pupils to record copy information from the board or from books? Are there notes? Are there handouts that contain the learning points? Are these readily available for your pupils? Is Firefly a resource that you can point children to see the lesson that's been delivered or to prepare them for the next lesson? Are there notes that are available? Are the lesson presentations, the PowerPoints, available and signposted for pupils? Do you ensure that pupils are encouraged to record information in a variety of ways? Less of the traditional writing linear notes top to bottom or just simple written responses. Do you provide your pupils with a chance to show their understanding using mind maps, diagrams, storyboards, bullet points, pictures? Do you also ensure that SEND pupils are not made to read or write in front of the class? That if you do ask them to read, that they are prepared and they are openly encouraged and rewarded for their efforts? Do you know about Professor John Hattie and visible learning? Do you know about all the teaching strategies that have a size effect, a positive or a negative effect? If you want further information, please click the link here on the page. Can you ensure that collaborative working is encouraged, that there is group work, that notes are shared, that notes are photocopied, that pupils can photograph the board, that pupils have learning buddies, somebody in class they can sound their ideas off against? Do you provide lessons where the start of the lesson involves the whole group, that breaks down into a focus group, that breaks down into pairs, and then allows individuals to work at their own pace? Do you ensure that the pace of the session takes into account the needs of all the learners, and that time is built in for thinking time or brain breaks, particularly when there is a double period, bearing in mind that most pupils will have an attention span of between 22 to 25 minutes, some less? Can you ensure that frequent and effective use is made of questioning, both open and closed questions to check understanding? And if we're taking it further, have you explored the Bloom higher order questioning techniques? There's a wonderful link here and also in the teacher inclusive resources on Firefly. There are some wonderful activities and questions based on Bloom's techniques. Please click here for further information. Do you ensure that pupils are not expected to multitask, that tasks are clearly demarcated as looking, listening, writing, with an equal balance of such tasks being evident? Do you often find yourself giving instructions whilst pupils are writing? Which one do you think they're doing? Are they doing both? Are they doing one or the other? Or are they in fact doing neither? Do you ensure that the lesson follows a logical sequence, that you can point to the sequence on the board? Can you show where you are in a lesson? We're at this particular point leading to a conclusion, or here is our beginning and this is where we will reach by the end of the session. Links between these learning points are frequently reinforced and are made explicit. Is that the case? Pupils are encouraged to ask questions and make oral contributions in your lessons. Additional time is allowed within sessions for SEND pupils to process information, for reading, for writing. Do you ensure that key points are reinforced and highlighted, both orally and visually? Do your instructions, do your oral contributions often get supported by visual supports, by flow diagrams, by boxes showing sequences? Do you ensure that effective use is made of colour, of visual aids, for example, within presented information? Do you highlight key points? Do you underline key points? Do you stress key points, terms and definitions? Do you provide your pupils with a glossary of the key words and terms that they must use and apply when answering questions? Do you ensure that instructions and information are broken down into small steps, with no more than 3 clear pieces of information being given at once? Do you check understanding after each stage of learning? Do you get the pupils to check their understanding through self-assessment, through peer assessment? Do you ensure that prep tasks are clearly explained and prep instructions are written in Firefly? Do you ensure that pupils are encouraged to complete prep tasks in a variety of multisensory creative ways? Do they have a choice? Do they, if appropriate, show their understanding in a way that is a preferred learning method for them? Do you ensure that marking criteria is clearly explained to pupils? Do you give pupils a marking criteria to self-assess their own work? Are there regular uses of self and peer assessment in your lessons? Do you ensure that there's a recap of the objectives and key learning points at the end of your lessons? Did you know that a pupil with high functioning autism, HFA, do you know that there are pupils in your class who have high functioning autism? Do you know what needs they have in your class? Do you know about the structure that they require and the predictability that they require? Do you ensure that pupils are encouraged to comment on the prep that's been set? And such comments are often reviewed and utilised to inform future practice. Do you find that you are often punishing SEND pupils? Do you often find that you are rewarding SEND pupils? If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to speak to your head of department, to speak to your learning support link teacher in your department, or to get in touch with myself or with Hayley in the learning support department, and we'll be more than happy to sit down with you and to talk and explain through any of the points that have been raised in this presentation. Thank you.